Thank you so much, Aarti. And now I'd like to warmly welcome Håkan Kingstedt, Chairman of Sweden-India Business Council. Please give Håkan a big round of applause. We're going to go and talk about a very important session on Make in India. Over to you, Håkan.
Thank you very much. And I also would like to invite Mattias Ringman from Saab on the stage. And then we have two Cecilias joining us on the net and a Sara. So I think, take the seat here, please. First of all, welcome. And let's use next 45 minutes to debate and try to understand. The heading is a pathway for sustainable growth and a global leadership. And I would like to add, accelerate. Because, I mean, it's, we need to set up the speed and the pace. I'm very happy to have on the panel today, we have Mattias Ringman, Vice President, Head of Finance, BA Dynamics Saab. We have Kamal Bali, President and MD, Volvo Group India, and co-chair for the CII Europe Council. We have Sara Larsson, Chief Executive Officer, Swedish Chamber of Commerce in India, and Cecilia Sjöstedt, Vice President of the Critical Care Division from Getinge. And then we have Susanne, Pulverer, CEO and CSO for IKEA India. I just reflected about the panel we have today, which is a great panel. It's very much the company's private-driven approach. You know, I'll come back to you on that, Mattias. Could I start with you, Kamal? We have had over 10 years of Make in India, been very successful. Now we move to Made in India, maybe for global export. Kamal, what do that really mean? What will happen? Over to you.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, can you hear me now? Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Håkan, for having me on this panel. It's a very interesting question. Let me start by saying that first things first, Make in India is not simply about manufacturing or an economic agenda which the government of India started with. In my view, it is actually a very intrinsic part of India's holistic sustainability ambition across economic, social, and environmental imperatives. Let me explain this a bit more clearly. Take, for example, the imperative of inclusive growth. That is creation of, for instance, gainful employment for 90 million young boys and girls over the next 10 years who would be joining the workforce, moving from rural India into urban India. So it's about 90 million people for whom jobs have to be created. Here, manufacturing is the key to that kind of job creation. And the good news is that currently the manufacturing in India has been only 16% of our GDP. There's an ambition to go up to 25% of GDP, which means that there is a huge possibility for job creation. So I think that's the first part when I say social sustainability, to create jobs for the society and have a good situation. Next, the Make in India objective, I think, is very, very clearly rests on three pillars. Number one, the main pillar being a good domestic ecosystem with ease of doing business and cost of doing business. That is the basic premise on which Make in India, that you will have easy access to paying taxes, easy laws, easy compliances, decriminalization of many laws, all of that. So that's the first one. The second part is firm level competitiveness, which means how do companies become competitive, capable, and build their capacities at the highest standards. That's the second piece where a lot of actors are playing that. And the third piece here is the global ecosystem by opening up, embracing foreign trade agreements, building brand India, and raising India's dependability index in the world. I think the above, this approach, what I talked about of Make in India, requires a host of actions by several actors, and that is what has been happening to some extent in some cases and very deeply in many other cases. So typically, socio-economic reforms such as GST, you saw GST, IBC, national new education policy, land reforms, and support through PLI and things like that, national single window scheme. All these came as part of Make in India.
Very good.
The second was,
very good. What about the move to Made in India, which is which continues of the Make in India program? What do you see there? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
So I think that's very important. And actually, what's happening there is basically the digital part, the digital India focus, things like UPI and having digital public infrastructure. That is leading to number of things, and Made in India is part of that story to my mind, because there are opportunities for young India, like for instance, the Startup India, the Skill India. All of these have been created as a consequence of Made in India. And I think, and then of course, is a very, very important part is on the green and green hydrogen, and basically the ambition towards net zero. And I think we note that almost about, in my industry, almost 50,000 buses tenders are going to be out, which are going to be electric buses, and we believe that 9 out of 10 trucks. So I think there is one part. The other part, very, very quickly, I'll take just a minute more, is to say that things like, for instance, in our own sector today at Volvo, the 5-liter and the 8-liter engines are built in India and supplied across the world for the entire Volvo organization. So that is again part of the Made in India story, which has already happened and is happening big time. And this is about 50,000-60,000 large engines which are built in India exclusively, and the localization levels have gone up 80% plus. So I think it's
thank you. I think I'll stop you there for time being. We'll come back to you, Kamal. And I would like to move over to Cecilia Sjöstedt, Getinge. We spoke about, for this meeting today, about innovation in India. I would like to have concrete examples, not the high level. What are you really doing, and what is your thought, Cecilia, there? Could you, I'll leave it to you.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for having me, but sorry for not being able to be live on stage today. Let me just say a few words about Getinge's presence in India, because India is a very important market for us. And we have been present in India for the past 20 years, and we have bringing lots of important technologies to help Indian patients. For example, we are market leaders when it comes to ventilators or respirators, ECMO, the artificial lung, the intra-aortic balloon pump, and endoscopic vessel harvesting. And they're all being used to help save lives of critically ill patients. We also established, I think it's 5 years ago, in the Innovation Center in Bangalore. And there we are building up a team with great know-how on software development. So just to show you what we do and why India is important. So let me give you two examples, Håkan, on innovation. And the first one is about an innovation project we have been running together with the Indian Institute of Technology in Bombay. And that is about an AI-based triage system. Patient triage is crucial when it comes to an emergency departments, ICU. And that ensures timely and appropriate care based on the correct evaluating the emergency grade on the patient conditions. And IIT Bombay has developed an AI-based camera tool, which will provide healthcare professionals with decision support. We more and more talk about decision support. And that is used for treatment of a critically ill patient. And management of IIT Bombay has awarded this project as one of the best innovation projects last year. And we're extremely, of course, proud about that. And also IT Bombay said that patients remain at the center of the decision of this project, which is really confirming Getinge way of working. I think that is a fascinating and fantastic innovation project. The other example I have is around implementation of a modular operating room on an Indian aircraft carrier. And this happens to be the first known modular operating room facility implemented on a seaborne vessel. And that is exactly like one of the ground facility. And you can imagine it was difficult to implement what generally stands on a solid concrete ground. Inside a vessel, it's like a closed steel box. But here we work together and we put in place new safety standards and testing methods. So we introduced that new innovation 5 years ago. And that facility has saved many lives, that of soldiers and civilians, as a mid-ocean floating medical hub. So I think two very concrete innovation examples, Håkan.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Cecilia. I think I move on to Mattias. You are in a very different kind of sector. The defense sector is very different to business and commercials and very regulated. Could you tell me a little bit about what you need in India? We talk about only in India, nowhere else. What's your plan and what are your commitments now moving forward?
I mean, first of all, Saab and the business area that I represent, we've been in India and had a very good partnership with India for almost close to 50 years now, and we've been doing license production for a number of years, and now we're taking the next step of being in the middle of establishing a factory for the state-of-the-art Carl Gustav system, as we call it. So we're in the beginning of that process and trying to figure out all the rules and regulations. And if I were to wish something for us going forward, I would like to have a stable and predictable regulatory landscape for us going forward in terms of indigenization levels, taxes, and other regulatory aspects of that. So that would be the wish I would put forward for that.
Good, thank you. Before the meeting, we had a discussion about minority share and opportunities on that as well. Could you tell me a little bit about your thoughts and where you would like to be?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, what we're doing right now with the factory, we are the first company in the defense industry that were allowed to own 100% of the factory, or the company actually is setting up the factory. So that's very good, and I think that's very important for us. We're bringing down technologies that we've been developing on our own money for a number of years, and to go in with that in a minority share would be very difficult and very riskful from the business perspective. So the 100% ownership was really important for us to do that, and it will be very important for us going forward if we were, or when we looking to extend the production facility.
Good, thank you. By the way, when are you up and running?
We'll be up and running by the end of 2025, early 2026.
Okay, thank you. Let's move to Sara Larsson. Sara, we spoke about the importance of ecosystems leading to new solutions. Could you tell us a little bit more about your thoughts and your experience in that?
Absolutely. Thank you, Håkan. It's great to be here with all of you. And I think you are referring to the innovation ecosystem that we have around us in India. And I think that, of course, something we have from the Chamber has been following over the years and see how the companies are developing and how they're growing in that. And I would just want to give you some kind of numbers, maybe some statistics to see on an overall basis, because we have today about 280 Swedish companies in India operating here. And we ask them now and then of how they, rate India and doing business in India from different aspects. And one, of course, is then on, if you look at the innovation ecosystem and R&D and so forth, and how do you find that being competitive compared to global value chains and other places. And we see there, I would say maybe a maturity of the system. We see the companies are now, almost half of them, or 43%, are saying that they rate India very high and competitive compared to 1 out of 3 or just 28% 3-4 years back. So I think that companies are finding their way more within the innovation ecosystem in collaborations with partners, especially suppliers, but also other industry players. And we see that is increased also in the last few years, that more collaboration is happening between different industry players, but also with government and academia and so forth. And in general, 3 out of 4 companies, they're very positive about the innovation ecosystem in India. And that's also what we see increasing, and also that there are business opportunities coming out of the collaborations they have. So actually, half of them report that they have, that they are making business happening out of the innovation collaborations they have in the ecosystem, and another 25% think they will. So that's very positive. So I think we see that the ecosystem is maturing. We're finding more opportunities and more base for collaboration of different kinds.
Good. Could you also mention a little bit about and dig into the startup sector? How important is the startup sector now in the collaborations you have or started between the different stakeholders?
Well, I think from our study point of view, actually startups, Swedish companies are not working that much with startups yet. I think we've seen a number of good, initiatives. For example, we have Kamal on the panel here, Volvo, that have established Campex, and maybe he can mention some of that, and other companies that are working on creating or building together, like with the incubators or in the system to draw in more startups as well. And of course, startups have the sharpness of technology and so forth. So I think that's an area where Swedish company can look more towards collaboration in the future.
Thank you very much, Sara. I think I move on to Susanne Pulverer from IKEA. Would you be there? I'm
there, yes.
Great to see you. What is IKEA doing to contribute to the green transition in India?
Thank you. So for the many Swedes, you might know that IKEA is plus 80 years, and our presence in India is plus 40 years. When we came, we started with the sourcing, and then we have built on 15 years back the philanthropic arm, with India being the biggest market where we support development in climate change, etc. And then we came with retail, and we have been operating now 6 years, and now we are building up digital operations, global business operations, investments, and our shopping centers arm as well. So many IKEA entities. And as we started with the sourcing, that is also where the big contribution was from the beginning. When we go down in the supply chain, we saw a big need to work with our suppliers to further improve working conditions, social conditions, and the environmental conditions. And that is the same as we do in any market where we do sourcing. We call it the IKEA way of doing business. So that is something the sourcing part has been working a lot with. We, of course, look at plus 50% of our impact on the environment and the climate comes from material. So a lot has been done when we go down to the material dimension. We have worked with cotton as a raw material, as India has been a textile market as a strength. And we have worked with how to improve the cotton cultivation with less water use, with less pesticide use, and a better opportunity for the farmer. Then we continue to look at, and of course that's a big thing, to the circularity. And here we have worked with the waste from the industries to use in production again. And post-consumer waste is the big next thing to close the loop, and that will require years and a lot of contribution. So there is a lot of work going on, a lot to be done, a lot of opportunities. And another one I want to mention is gender diversity. So in India, in the urban areas, it's not even 30% of the females that are in the workforce, and a little bit higher in the rural areas. So of course we want to provide equal opportunities. So gender diversity, we have committed to be a gender diverse organization. So 50-50, and it's possible when you, and I think that has a big impact on society as well. But I think overall, you have to, coming to India, your ambitions needs to match India's ambition. And you need to be very aligned with what the consumers or your client wants, and the government, and your own ambitions. And then it is to also adjust your business model to be fit for India. And of course, not to say low cost if you are to the consumers is key. That you can make something that is affordable for India in the stage where India is right now. But a fantastic country, a fantastic opportunity market, and a growth market, of course.
Good. Thank you very much, Susanne. I'd like to move back to you, Kamal. We spoke about what is really Volvo doing in India. Do you have any proof points? Where is Volvo in the green transition?
Yeah, thank you, Håkan. Yeah, Håkan, just to start with saying that we do the 5-liter and the 8-liter engine exclusively in India for the entire world. These engines go from here to France, Germany, Italy, Sweden, and US, and these are exclusively made in India, nowhere else. These are engines which go into buses and the smaller trucks, 5-liter and 8-liter. Then we've started with the LNG trucks. Another very important point which Susanne said, I wanted to just let you know that since 2021, in the last 3 years, we have reduced the CO2 across our entire supply chain by 48% in the last 3 years within scope 1 and scope 2. So that's another thing which we are working very, and this is one very positive and optimistic thing which I see, at least in the automotive value chain in India, which is very advanced, which is almost at par with the Western world. And I think we can reach our goals much faster. But the only problem is the small and the micro companies which need hand-holding. So what we have done is we have changed our concept of dealing only with our suppliers to the entire supplier, our suppliers, which means tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. We go down to tier 4. So we help them with all the knowledge, all the capacity building, all the capability building when it comes to greenhouse gas emissions, when it comes to cutting out the net zero, going towards net zero. So this is what we have done. And the third thing what we are doing in a big way is engaged in the hydrogen and methanol for IC engines along with the government of India. It's a project called Hydrogen Valley, where because one of the pathways to getting net zero is hydrogen going on IC engine instead of battery electric. So that is one area which we are progressing very fast. And finally, working with our suppliers and supplying green castings from India for the first time, and green tie rods from India for the first time. So I think India is actually one of the leaders when it comes to the green transition in our ecosystem, in Volvo's ecosystem, and very quickly getting into many new areas. So I think overall we are pretty bullish on our story. And then of course, within short time, we are looking at India becoming an export hub for some of the trucks. We have not announced that yet, but I think I can just share that we are
Kamal, you have announced it now. You know. Just a very short answer. When are your supply chains going 100% green? Would that even be possible?
Yes, absolutely. 2040 is the goal for 100%, which is just 15 years away, which is not very far. But I think but more important goals are 2030. 2030, we are looking at more than 50 to 60% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. Because I think the intermediate goal is very, very important, because to get the culture, to get people onto the culture of net zero, I think that's very, very important. The measurement tools, the measurement techniques, scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, that is actually very important. If you can reduce our intensity by 70%, then going to 100 will not be that difficult.
Kamal, excellent contribution as always, you know, thank you very much. I move on to Cecilia, Getinge again, and we spoke about how you address the fast-growing medtech sector in India. Could you give us some examples, how you think, what are you doing, and a couple of concrete examples on that, please?
Yeah, and I think it boils down to very much what we've heard about the peers here on the panel, collaboration and partnerships. So a few words about the trends we see. One trend is around corporatization of traditional customer-based private sector, and that need more innovation solutions on par with the developed world. We also see increasing focus on what we call tertiary medicine. It's a highly specialized medical care. And we see that by the government due to the public health mission and, for example, like mass insurance, and that need prudent solutions. And here we see that software for ease of interpretation and health worker support, that would be of essence, software development. A third trend is that we see, and we heard it before, the increasing ecosystem of startups in our field, generating ideas how to help save lives. And those startups, they don't have the market reach. And companies like us, Getinge, we can, in collaboration, partnerships with them, give them the market expansion and reach. Another trend is that we see increasing interest from academia when it comes to research in new solutions helping saving lives. And that is something that we also try to build upon. So I think very important trends ongoing in India, and the collaboration partnership with academia. And we heard the example I shared before with startup, with suppliers. That is something how we address it together, of course, with our India Innovation Center in Bangalore, where we have our own capabilities. I think that great cooperation will enable us to handle all the trends that we see.
Good, thank you very much. I turn to you, Mattias, again, and we spoke about the important long-term commitments and so on. But you're also in a technical transfer situation. You have developed technology in Sweden for so many years.
Right.
Invested in that.
Yes.
And now you are doing a technical transfer. Could you tell us a little bit about how are you doing that? And I mean, invested in R&D should be a product for production, for income, for sales. What is the long-term commitment there?
I mean, in the business that we're in, we generally have very long business cycles, first of all. We have been developing our systems for quite a long time, as I said, and now we're transferring the technology down to India to set up the production factory. And what we're doing more specifically is that we're setting it up in Sweden first and trying to set out the quality, train all the operators and everything in Sweden, and then we move it down here to India to start it up, first of all, to the goal is to create a Swedish quality production facility here, or down in India, obviously, and bring down our Swedish quality and system and processes and everything down there.
This is a long-term commitment at your end.
It's a very long-term commitment for sure, and we also, with the business we're in, we also have to take into consideration the Swedish export regulations and everything, and be in very close contact with the export authorities here in Sweden to get it right. And with that, and having said that, that also makes it even more important to have the regulatory landscape in India stable and predictable, because we also have the Swedish authorities to cater to.
What would be next step for you? What kind of initiative would you like to see? You had a wish list before, but a concrete example, what would you need?
I mean, internally in the group, Saab, we also run an engineering hub. I would like to see that grow. To have more engineers to do more work down in India from the engineering perspective. In order to meet the Indianization level for the production facility, we also need to establish Indian suppliers, which is really important. So that's something that we're looking for right now, and I would like to see that grow quicker and to a good extent from a quality and pricing and supply perspective. I mean, from the geopolitical trends in the business we're in, I think that security of supply is really important for the customer, and obviously the Make in India initiative is part of that to a certain extent as well. So that's something that's really important for our customers, and then obviously it becomes important for us as well.
Okay, good. So you're looking for suppliers, qualified suppliers to India right now. So,
correct.
Ladies and gentlemen, please make a note of that, you know. Mattias is looking for some support in this. Thank you, Mattias. Move back to you, Sara. I remember we started a business climate survey. How many years? Maybe 10, 12?
14 years or more.
Yeah, exactly. Could you update us a little bit about what is your outcome? What is your reflection about the result for this year?
So this year we did what we call a global business climate survey together with 26 other countries around the world. And India, again, as last year, stands out in terms of the companies saying that there is the business climate, the perception of the business climate is very high. Maybe a little bit less this year because the survey just went out before the elections. And then, of course, when there's a big national election, you always have a question mark, what is going to happen? But overall, I think the business climate survey showed that there is a positive view of India, the perception, of course, a very strong market that is growing. We've spoken about collaboration and partnership. We see that maturing. We see also maturing in terms of relationship with the government and in collaboration with them. So I think there's overall quite a stable, I would say, view of the business climate. And there are great opportunities for many companies, and we've seen that as well. For example, we know, and since we're talking about making India here, we know that 70 plus Swedish companies today manufacturing in India, and they're coming in with great speed as well. Both existing companies that are expanding upon their production capacity and also making sure that they have a product range that is catering to also the new technologies and the developments of India. But also, as Kamal and others have spoken of, seeing India as a hub in the region, seeing India as a hub for export. And for example, there we know 2021, there was 75% of the manufacturing companies said that they are producing both for the domestic market and for export. And in the last one we did, it was 90% that are looking at both over export as well. So we see that a focus, seeing India as part of global value chains, I think that's something very important for Swedish companies in India. And with that comes both opportunities and challenges.
Good, thank you very much for that. Let's move back to IKEA. Susanne, with the examples you have shared with us before here, what is your learning?
The learning, I would say, is to come to India to be long-term. It's not a quick fix to jump into the market and think you will have it all or it will be an easy ride. It's a huge market with a lot of potential, but you need to have a long-term view, be very persistent, work with your organization back home to convince that India is a unique market that might need tweaks or adjustments of the business model. I think learning is that you need to be very good in handling changes and disruptions. And I think just to hang in and work very, very long term, that is one of the biggest learnings. But the market is of course something many companies look for as a growth market with the number of people who just live in this country.
Good. So what will we see IKEA doing for next 5 years in India? What is coming up?
So climate change is top of our agenda and no difference to what we do in India. So we will work with decarbonization, and we have taken big steps with EV of home delivery. We are very proud of more than 90%, but that journey needs to continue. And we need to work with circularity. As I spoke about, we have taken steps with industrial waste, but we also need to go into the area of the post-consumer waste and close the loop for the climate change. And we also have ambitions of net zero 2030. So that's one big thing. Then the other one I would say to mention is our work to create, to contribute in society and create job opportunities. We also see that a lot more can be produced. There is a very, very small percentage of the home furnishing export that is from India, and we believe that can grow. And through that, we can create job opportunities. We can work for diversity, as I said, gender diversity and other dimensions. So I think these two are the areas we would really drive going forward.
Good, thank you. Back to you, Cecilia. You didn't mention too much about the green, what you're doing with the green transition in India. Could you share something for us?
Yes, I mean, we are also part of science-based targets. We have a number of activities. We work, of course, very close to our vendors, suppliers on that topic. Also, when we are talking about new innovation, new products, eco-design, circularity, etc. And I think for us, the journey has started and will accelerate. So I think in general, sustainability is a big gift that Sweden can share and give to India, and in return take back the fantastic way of working from India when it comes to software development, etc. Lean implementation, to marry these two strengths and capabilities. So that is something that we are exploring more and more in Getinge.
Do you see any more development in your center in Bangalore? Will you develop more products, India-based? I would like to come back with made in India, because then it will become made in India.
Yeah, of course. So the team is heavily involved in several very important innovation projects when it comes to products in acute care therapies. And then, of course, we have some exciting, more futuristic digitalization project. But of course, we also are looking into local manufacturing in India, for India, and for the surrounding neighbors, so to say. So that is something that we are heavily looking into. We have not kicked off yet officially, but we have feasibility. We have actually a team right now in India to meet customers, to understand the need, how to address the need in India. from R&D and from product management. So we are in the starting block to kick off that project. So that is the ambition from Getinge for sure.
Excellent, thank you very much. I think time is running out for us, but I think I will end with you, Mattias. And we green transition for you. You spoke about you are developing skilling. I recall you had a kind of school even in India at some point of time, maybe even now. But you move people to Sweden, you skill them, you train them. Is that your part of the green transition, the skilling, or?
As you say, we don't have a school in India, but we bring people to Sweden to train them, and we also train them in India as well to the processes that we have. Saab overall is obviously part of the science-based targets, and we run a sustainability targets and everything. But obviously, I mean, we try to follow the component selection, the production methods, and everything that we do in the factory setup as well. But maybe that's part of the green transition to educate the engineers for the future, to have them think about the green transition as the core competence for them as well in the future.
Mm-hmm. Good. I think thank you very much. I would like to thank my panel, thank all of you who have listened to us. And you know, the difference here is very much like those are operating companies, they invest themselves. When they see the targets, they move. So we need all levels work together because there is no one solution. Most of you coming from India, you know there is not one solution, there are many solutions. Coming from Sweden, we maybe thought it was one solution. We are learning from India, there is alternative solutions. Thank you very much, all of you.